Hello everyone, I'm Batpan, a bat who loves nature. In today's video, we're gonna create a simple yet effective save and load system in Unity, perfect for things like keeping player progress, settings, or inventory items when changing levels. This is the same system I use in my own game Fractured Psyche, a retro horror game you can check out through the link in the description. This video is part of my Unity tips and tricks series, so if you're into that kind of stuff, feel free to check out the rest of the channel. And as always, all the files used and created in this video, like the scripts, will be available on my GitHub. You can get to the link in the description. With all that being said, let's put on the mask and begin. So we have a ready scene here, we have a save scene, which is this one, and we have a load scene, which is this one. You put the values on this scene, you save it, and you go to this load scene, and the values will be shown here. We have a level, which will get a value of integer. We have a volume, which would actually get a value of float. We have a your name value, which would actually get a string, and we have a flashlight, which is kind of a boolean, but we're gonna kind of do it with an integer because we don't have the set boolean for the player prefs. You will actually see it in the upcoming minutes. I'm gonna create a new C# script. Again, I say all the files used and created in this video, like this script, will be put in my GitHub. You can get to the link in the description. So I'll create a script. I'm gonna call it save YouTube. Double click to open it up. We're gonna get the values of these input fields. These are the things we can write on. These are actually input fields. To actually be able to get these values, we need a reference to these inside our script. So to actually be able to reference them, we need to say using Unity engine dot UI. So we can actually get a reference to those. The first thing we need a reference to is the public input field, and it was the level input field. So I'm just gonna say level if, which is a short for input field. Then we need a public input field, something for the volume input field, which would actually get a float. Then we need another public input field, which is actually the name input field. So we're just gonna say name if. Then there's a toggle, let me just show you, which we can actually click on to get activated and deactivated, which actually acts kind of as a boolean. So we're just gonna get that one as well. So we just need a public toggle. I'm gonna call it have flashlight. As you see, we actually created this save button, and all the values will be saved once we click on this save button. So to actually be able to give all these values and save all these values and get all of each one of these values and save them, we need to create a function for this save button. I'm gonna come here, create a public void, which I can actually connect to my button. I'm gonna call it save all, and I'm just gonna create the save function inside this public void, which I can actually connect to my save button. So the first thing I'm gonna save is my level. So to actually save the level, first I want to get the level from this string, from this input field. I want to create a temporary integer to put my level into. So I'm just gonna create a temporary integer to put my level into. So I'm just gonna call it level integer, which is equal to int.parse. So this function actually converts our string into an integer, because the value we take from this is actually a text file, and text is actually a string. So to actually make this string into an integer, so we can actually put it inside this integer and save it as an integer, we need to convert this string into an integer, and this is the way you convert a string into an integer. So how to save it? This part is important. We're gonna be saving using something called player prefs. So we're just gonna say player prefs dot set int. So it's gonna set a value. As you see, it actually needs a string for the key and a value. So for the key, be careful. The naming should be exactly the same across all the things. You want to get it or set it. So I'm just gonna say level, comma, and space. I'm gonna give it the value of level integer. The integer will be saved inside this player prefs into a key called level, and once we want to get it, we just say player prefs dot get integer, and we just call it, which you'll actually see in the upcoming minutes. So we're just done with this integer and level part. Let's go to the volume part, which is actually the float. So like we did for the integer, we're gonna create a temporary float. I'm gonna call it volume float, which is equal to float dot parse volume input field dot text. This is exactly the same thing as the integer, but instead of converting the string into an integer, it just converts the string into a float. Saving it is kind of the same thing. So we're just gonna say player prefs dot set float. Instead of a string, we just say set float, and we're just gonna give it the name. So for the name, I'm just gonna give it the volume with the capital V. Be careful, the things needs to be the same as I said. And for the value, we just give it the volume float that we created temporarily. That was for the volume, and this is the level, and this is the volume. Let's go ahead and create the name. And inside here, I'm gonna create a function for the name. Again, I'm gonna create a temporarily string. So string, I'm gonna call it name string, which is equal to, this time we don't have to convert it because it is exactly a string and we need a string. So we're just gonna say name input field dot text. And to save it, we just say player prefs dot set string. For the name, I'm just gonna give it name. For the key, and for the value, we just give it the name string. And that's exactly how you save your name and load it again in the next scene. And the next thing I actually added, which actually acts as a boolean, which we don't have in here. We don't have a boolean in here. We don't have a value for boolean inside player prefs dot set boolean. We don't have, and we can kind of do a boolean with an integer. For example, if boolean is equal to true, we make the integer 1. If the boolean is actually equal to false, we make the integer 0. As easy as that. And we have to first check if the toggle is on or off. So if we have the flashlight or we don't have it. So to actually check for it, we're just gonna say if. First, let's actually say flashlight here. So you guys know. So we're just gonna say if. We actually had a value for the toggle, which was called have flashlight. So we just down here, we're just gonna say have flashlight dot is on is equal to true. So if have flashlight is checked. So if we have the flashlight toggle is checked, we actually know we have the flashlight. Then we're just gonna say else if it is unchecked. So if it is checked, if is on is actually equal to true, where is the is on? Is on is actually here, you see. When I uncheck it, it gets unchecked, and when I check it, it gets checked. We are actually getting this value inside the script. If is on is equal to true, we just go ahead and save it as a true. So we're just gonna say player prefs dot set integer. For the name, I'm just gonna say have flashlight. Be careful again, the naming should be the same. I'm just gonna give it a value of 1 as a true. I can just copy it and paste it here, and instead of 1, just put 0 here for false. And that's everything for the save system, for the save values. So I'm gonna create an empty object. I'm gonna call it script holder, which will actually hold our save script. I'm gonna drag and drop my script to it. It needs an input field for the level. I'm gonna drag and drop it here. For the volume, for the name, and for the toggle, I'm gonna drag and drop it. Before creating the load function, I'm gonna connect this public void save all to my button. So I'm just going to select my button, the button I created. I'm going to go down here to this onClick event. I'm going to click on this plus. I'm going to drag and drop my script holder, the object with the script, and in this functions tab, I'm going to find my script, look for that public void. It is save all. I'm going to select it, and now my button function is actually connected to this save all. So now we created the save. We don't have any way to actually check it out, so we have to go ahead and create the load as well. So I'm going to open this load scene, and I'm going to create a new C# script. I'm going to call it load YouTube. So you guys know this is actually load. Double click to open it up. Again, we need a reference to using Unity Engine.UI because we actually need a reference to texts. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 texts here, which we actually have to modify according to our saved values. So first we need a public text. We need a reference to the level text. Then we need a public text for the volume text. So public text, name text. Then we need a public text for have flashlight text. I gave it these names. You can actually give it any name you want. And I'm gonna go inside void start. If you don't have it, just create one. You can just delete it and just create void start. You'll actually create a void start. I'm not gonna make it private. So first thing first, I'm gonna load the integer. Loading is actually very easy. So I'm just gonna add a function for level. In here, I'm gonna load the level. To actually load the level text equal to, it says level this plus the value of the level. Which was the value of the level? Player prefs.getInt in this time, and you have to give it exactly the same name for the key as you gave it inside the set integer for the level. Let's create one for the volume. Volume is kind of the same thing. So volume text equal to volume and plus player prefs.getFloat volume. That's for the volume. Then we need a reference for the name to actually load the name. So we're just gonna say name text, the text equal to your name is plus layer prefs dot get string with the value of name. Let's gonna put it in front of this, and we actually create a boolean have flashlight. We can't just call it like these three. We have to check if we actually have it or we don't. So we need to create an if statement in here. We're just gonna say if player prefs dot get int have flashlight. Be careful, the naming should be the same, equal to 1. If player prefs.get integer have flashlight is equal to 1, if the integer we gave it is equal to 1, which in the save function we actually made it equal to true. So if it is 1, it actually means we have the flashlight. So if we actually have the flashlight, we just go ahead and say have flashlight text have flashlight yes. And how to check if we don't have the flashlight is kind of the same thing. So player prefs.get integer have flashlight equal to 0. If it is actually equal to 0, we're just gonna say have flashlight text equal to have flashlight No, we don't have the flashlight. So that's everything for the load function. You save it like this and you load it like this. You can go ahead and check it out, and I'll explain it even more, and I'll give you an example from my own game. I'm gonna create an empty object. I'm gonna again call it script holder for the load, so you guys know this is the load, and I'm gonna drag and drop my load script onto it. It needs a level text, so this is the int number, which is the level text, the volume, which is the float number, this one, string for name, which is this string, and it needs a boolean for the half flashlight. You can even click on the circle to find each one of them. Let's go to the save scene. So for the level, I'm gonna put, for example, level 16. For the volume, it is at, for example, 0.578, and for the naming, I'm just gonna put Batman, and I don't have the flashlight. I'm gonna click on this save, and it is saved, and I'm gonna go to this load scene, and once I start it, every value I saved in the previous scene will be loaded here. As you see, we're on level 16, our volume is at 0.578, and my name is Batman, and we don't have the flashlight. So one of the ways I used it for my own game, Fractured Psyche, was for the language function. I selected the language inside the start menu, and for each of the scenes I started, inside this void start, I would actually add something called language. And in here I would just say if player, for example, prefs the get integer called language, because exactly if it was 0, I would know it is English, and if it was 1, it was, for example, Farsi, and if it was 2, it was Portuguese. Instead of English, I would put all the functions to actually make my game English and all of those things. So that's how to create a very simple save and load system in Unity that I use in my own game, Fractured Psyche. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, a like would be amazing. You can subscribe to see more contents like this. You can tell me any comments, any scenarios, any suggestions you have. I would be very happy to answer it, and if I can, I would cover it. Thank you so much for all your support. Hope all the best for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.